This story comes from the pages of the 2024 series Aliens vs. Avengers, issue number 1. Please support the official release. The story begins aboard a station in the deep reaches of space, where we see the bloodied remains of a Kree warrior having been experimented on by a mysterious group of people. Right next to the man's mangled corpse, we see what was left of none other than a facehugger, one from the iconic Alien franchise. We then see that this was a failed experiment by what appeared to be two people of the Shire race, who were seemingly trying to create some sort of evolved variation of the Xenomorph alien. Debating on what race of creatures to experiment on next, the aliens received an alert that their supposedly secretive facility was discovered and was under attack. Blowing a hole through the door of the lab, we see these attackers were high-ranking Wakandan troopers led by this world's T'Challa and his son Azari, whom were alerted of the weapons being stored here and planned to destroy them before they could be unleashed upon this reality. With the soldiers confirming they located movement within the facility, the group soon located just what this movement was: 3 living xenomorphs atop one of the ships within the hangar. Hey man, they're just hanging out. I'm sure they're friendly. Absolutely taking no chances to see if they were friendly or not, T'Challa commanded Azari to strike, where the young man fired a powerful beam of electricity from his armor, blowing up several xenomorphs in the process. Not too keen on their homies getting blown to bits, the other aliens lunged at the pair, only for Azari to fire once again, turning their heads into smoking piles of ash. Bro basically has the Wonder Waffle from COD Zombies built into his suit, which may be the coolest thing I've seen today. With T'Challa congratulating his son on a job well done, the king and his men continued to explore the lab, where they soon found the Shire scientist responsible for these demented experiments. Bringing the pair to their knees, the Black Panther's soldiers informed him that the doctors had feverishly began to erase most of their data before the troopers could get to the command deck. However, from what they could recover, the team had made a frightening discovery. Despite their best efforts at this being a proactive mission to prevent these weapons from being sent to other worlds, they were too late, as the Shire had already sent them off to at least a dozen worlds. Strategizing on a multi-planetary quarantine, the king was shocked to hear that one of these infected worlds would be Earth itself. Unmasking himself, we see that this timeline is much farther into the future than we realized, where we see the older and withered face of T'Challa, where he asked these scientists just what kind of monsters they were. With a milk-like blood substance pouring out of her face, one of the scientists looked on at the man with hatred and said that she was so much more, and that she had great plans for this entire reality. T'Challa then responded by listing off traits of the living, things such as benevolence and empathy, traits these races such as the Shire normally display in full, traits that these two were clearly lacking. Removing the woman's wig, we then discovered that these scientists were not Shire. In fact, they were not living at all. Rather, they were synthetics, similar to the androids like David and Ash from the Alien films. Declaring that these monsters were just a machine, one of them was insulted at this by asking the king that if they were to prick it, would it not bleed? In typical no-nonsense fashion, T'Challa coldly responded by saying, "Let's see," where he then used his blade to fully decapitate the android, where he then ordered his men to bring the head to the ship to study. Man, we need more stories like this. Cool dad and son stories of them going to space and investigating galactic conspiracies. Just another Sunday evening for dads and their kids. As the team pulled the data from the synthetic's memory core, we soon discover that things were even more dire than we realized, as xenomorphs had been sent out to nearly every galactic hub in this corner of the universe, a fate which could soon spell the end of them all. T'Challa then lamented this entire situation, for he had spent his entire life trying to create a peaceful world for his son to rule in as the next Black Panther. But due to this coming threat, the only future that he and future generations would know is nothing but survival. Near Earth's orbit, we see the horrific plans unfold, as a ship carrying 4 queen eggs with 12 infected hosts in suspended animation would be dispersed to the most populated sections of the planet. Upon landing, the infected host would awaken, where the chest burster would emerge, giving birth to the planet's first xenomorphs. The 12 would then get to work on building the hive for their queen, who would hatch days later, who would then begin to mass produce countless eggs, which would then spawn a legion of the galaxy's greatest killing machines. One by one, the greatest nations on Earth would fall. Even the most powerful societies, such as the Inhumans and Atlantis, would be overrun by the xenomorph hordes. Despite discovering this threat first and holding out the longest, even the nation of Wakanda was defeated with the majority of its population slain. Even the sentient island nation Krakoa, home to some of the most powerful mutants, was soon abandoned, all but the mighty Apocalypse, who swore to never surrender and fought off the armies as the entire island burned. Man, that's pretty awesome. It's a shame the X-Men movies did poor Apocalypse so dirty, because the dude does Chad stuff like this regularly in the comics and needs to be recognized for the goat he is. As the majority of civilizations had fallen, we see one of the members of the Wayland family was still alive and had constructed a city within the ruins of America that managed to survive the xenomorph threat. We then see this city was the fortress for the surviving heroes, as we witness an elderly Bruce Banner looking over what was once left of this great world. He was then joined by Captain Marvel, who asked how he was doing, where the saddened old man would remark on how this invasion resulted in the deaths of some of his closest friends, including the Fantastic Four. All that was left of Reed and Susan was their daughter Valeria, who was using her genius to create a solution for all this solution being the only hope this world had left. Having lost contact with the woman, Bruce then said he had made Reed a promise on his deathbed to keep his daughter safe, a promise which he feared he may have broken, thinking she may be lost. Feeling like giving up all hope, Bruce felt this last city was more of a tomb for the inevitable, where Carol basically told the man to stop feeling sorry for himself, and that when the day comes, she's going out guns blazing, taking out as many xenomorphs as she can with her to the grave. See, that is absolutely awesome. But I just want to know what personal vendetta this artist has here against Captain Marvel. I mean, yeah, she's old, but I refuse to accept that Brie Larson will age like this. As luck would have it, Marvel received a signal that her men had made contact with an individual on the outskirts of the city, this person being none other than Valeria, who was alive and well. Telling Bruce that she was going in, the dude didn't even let her finish, where he then hulked out and leapt to the location. We then see that this world's Miles Morales too was alive and was part of the Resistance, where he was quickly met by the Hulk, where the pair planned to find and escort Valeria to safety. Right around the corner, they would see a vehicle barreling towards their direction, with a very panicked Valeria being chased by a pack of xenomorphs. Thinking she wasn't going to make it, the woman was soon saved by Miles, where Hulk then finished the job by crushing the horde with a nearby building. He then told the young lady that she was late, where Valeria then told him that she was 45 years old who's been twice divorced. Man, maybe it's because I myself am old, but I'm absolutely loving these geriatric Avengers. Can we just get movies like this, please? And tell you what, man, for 45, Valeria is looking, whew. Back at Weyland's lab, the team analyzed a special xenomorph egg that Valeria had stolen during this mission that she said would be the key in winning this war that they had been losing for so long. She explains that in the early days of the invasion, when they were fighting off the creatures, it was already too late, for they were in their adult forms and were near perfect killing machines. The next logical step would be to stop the infected when they were attacked by a facehugger, but not even that worked despite using advanced scientific and magical methods. However, using her studies of the eggs, Valeria devised a plan to create a virus that would kill the eggs themselves, thus ending the xenomorph birth cycle right at the source. In amazement, Miles and the rest asked if this was doable, where the woman displayed the good old Richard's confidence and charm, confirming that it could be done. Bruce Banner, still being kind of a Debbie Downer, did provide a logical argument to this though, and raised the question of the side effects of such a virus, as it could possibly create an even worse situation than what they were already in. Valeria then reassured her old friend to trust her, and that all she needed from them was to give her time. Later on, we would see Banner meet Weyland in his tower, where they discussed Richard's plan. Having confidence in the woman, Weyland remarked at how brilliant she was, just like her father, and that maybe, just maybe, she could perform a miracle like Reed had done so often in the past. However, he went on to remind Banner that they were soon going to need to make the hard decision about what was left for humanity. Would they stay and fight, or would they salvage what was left and run for their lives? Later that evening, Bruce came to Valeria's lab to bring her some dinner while she worked, only to see that his room access had been denied. Believing something was wrong, Banner then input his manual override, where he was then greeted by a video recording from Valeria, where she told the man that he could not come in. The recording goes on to say that everything was going to plan. She had almost completed the virus, but needed another egg, so she used her power to access another xenomorph hive. But as fate would have it, she would trip while trying to escape the horde and went unconscious. When she came to, she realized that she had ran completely out of time, for she too, like the others, was now infected with a chest burster. As her eyes would turn obsidian black, we'd see darkened tears stream down the woman's face as she apologized to Bruce for failing and made him promise not to open the door. Horrified, Bruce immediately transformed into the Hulk and burst into the room, where he was met by a fully grown xenomorph who instantly attacked him. Despite its best efforts, the Hulk managed to overpower the beast and squashed its head, where its acidic blood poured all over him, sending him thrashing backwards in pain. Hulk being Hulk though, this was not enough to take him down, where he soon recovered, but much to his horror, discovered the bloodied remains of Valeria, the last member of the Richards family. As Carol and the other Avengers entered the room, she warned the heroes to keep their eyes open, for there was still a live facehugger lurking in the darkness. Before she could even finish that sentence, poor Miles' spider sense was not fast enough to warn him of the creature's impending attack, where it latched upon his face, sending him to the floor. As the Avengers watched helplessly as Miles wriggled to the ground, they debated upon what to do. Captain Marvel went to remove it, only for Hulk to remind her that they could not, as it was now fully connected to his body, and any attempt to pull it off would immediately kill the host. Knowing that there was no other option, Weyland suggested to the team that they would need to completely burn Miles to eliminate the facehugger and any potential eggs that were already inside of his body. Seeing this as the only choice they had, Captain Marvel went to follow through with this command, only to notice something that they never had before. Come to find out, this Miles had come to bond with the Venom symbiote during the years, and due to this, it served as a barrier between him and the facehugger, where its power was greater than the creature, fully taking control of it. Looking down upon this scientific anomaly, Hulk and Weyland both deduced that two negatives in this instance made a positive. One parasite co-ops the other. With the team asking Miles if he was okay, he said no, as this was rather terrifying, only for the venom-possessed facehugger to then cement itself to his chest, forming a new spider-like facehugger emblem, transforming him into a xenomorph-resistant anti-venom. Armed with this newfound power, Miles opted that the only way they would all survive this and rebuild society would be to escape this godforsaken planet.